Have you ever wondered how some people make eating healthy, exercise, and managing stress look so easy? You can too. Welcome to Wellness Wisdom, where we uncover the secrets to lasting health and happiness and empower you to make wise health choices, see results, and create a healthy lifestyle for good. Join Camille Kennard, licensed social worker, certified health and wellness coach, a self-care specialist on the journey to explore how to make health and well-being possible for you. It's a health and wellness journey you can take together. Please welcome your host, Camille Kennard.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Wellness Wisdom today. You guys, I just love this month that we're in August, where we get to look at the sunshine and really enjoy life. We're going to be talking today about improving our quality of life. How do we make ourselves enjoy life more, be more healthy, just really take good care of ourselves. And you guys are going to love this episode. I'm really excited about this. I'm going to interview Dr. Tom Incledon. Tom, welcome to the podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity to share everything with everyone.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk with you about some of the things that you're passionate about, which are also things that I love and I'm passionate about. I'm going to just tell you guys a little bit about Tom. Luckily, we haven't officially met in person. He's a little bit away from me. I'm in Salt Lake City and he's in Scottsdale, Arizona. But I feel like we connect just by what I've read from what he does. He's a world-renowned expert in human health and performance. And he's a founder and chief scientific officer of Causenta Wellness, where he's bringing a unique approach to healthcare and cancer treatment that's never been done before. Through his career, Dr. Tom has revolutionized the way over 40,000 people have achieved their health and performance goals. And he has seen it all. I'm so excited to talk to him about this. With Causenta, he's pioneering a new data-based approach to cancer treatment that combines traditional and non-conventional practices. So I'm really excited to talk to you about what it is you're doing. I think a lot of us out there, when we're in the healthcare field, we kind of see that there's just like a cookie cutter thing, right? Where one size fits all and you try everything on people and it doesn't work for everyone, right? Maybe like you're saying with cancer treatment. I would love for you kind of to tell us a little bit about your journey. What started you in wanting to help people improve their performance and their health? Where did you come from?
Well, I am human. I was born on planet Earth.
Yes. Okay, cool.
I would say that my first exposure was when I was, maybe age 6 to 9. I had a babysitter and, she was maybe like 16, but in my eyes, the most beautiful woman in the universe,
Yeah.
And then I had this little, boy crush on her. And then one day, I was told, she didn't show up to babysit. And then her dad called my mom and said that she's going to the hospital. They don't know what's going on. And the next day she had passed away.
Oh, wow.
And so it was kind of like, day one, she's like this beautiful, healthy girl. And all of a sudden day 2, she's, she had a brain tumor and she just went like really fast. And at the time, I can remember thinking, what is cancer? It was like a foreign word. And I can actually tell you, hardly met anyone with cancer at that point. Compared to today, where everybody knows someone that's had cancer, they've had it themselves. Like it's almost like we're in a different world today versus, 40-something years ago. And so that just, I would say that it was like a crash course exposure to something I knew nothing about, but from that early exposure it was like very deadly. That's all I knew. And then as luck would have it, or maybe not have it, I grew up extremely poor, 2 standard deviations below poverty. So the joke was we were looking up at poor people and saying, wow, look how rich they are.
Yeah.
So everything's a matter of perspective, and things like that. And so as we were growing up, I had to start working at a very young age. And as I was working and trying to help, my family survive, I winded up getting involved with weight training. And I was just crazy strong. By the time I was 13, I could out deadlift and out squat most men. And then next thing I know, I was winning county championships and state championships and national championships. And along the way, my coaches were like, hey, you're not just going to be a dumb jock. You got to actually go to school and get educated. And I thought, that was terrible. I
Just
didn't
do the
want to go to
lifting, right?
I just wanted to lift. I didn't want to go to school and get educated. And I always share that with people because today I have 23 years of college education. I have 5 degrees. I've lectured at all kinds of universities around United States and some of Europe. And, my point is what I thought I wanted to do was not even close to what I was actually doing later on. And what I started to see is I got sick one day. I got food poisoning. And as I went, I lost 10 pounds of basically, from diarrhea and all this kind of stuff. And I go to the hospital and they're checking my blood pressure and my pulse. And I go, everything's fine. I'm like, what are you doing? This isn't even close to what I'm experiencing. And they told me it would pass. And then the next day I lost another 10 pounds. And by the third day, I lost consciousness. I had fainted from low blood pressure. I had been to the hospital twice and they discharged me as everything was fine. And as I was there the third day and I regained consciousness and I'm asking them questions, they were just giving me really stupid things. And I just realized, wow, this has nothing to do with optimal biology. And most people just follow, they have a herd mindset in healthcare. They just do as they're told because they're afraid of being sued. They're not really focused on how to uncover what's at the root cause of your health issue. Hence today why we have the company Causenta, which is basically like Latin for are caused by, because we've had a number of people with very rare conditions that were told it's incurable. Lo and behold, they don't have those conditions anymore and they're alive. So I think, when people say there's no cure for something, what that translates to me is they just don't know what they're doing. There's a cure for everything. Nature already has it figured out. We're just slowly uncovering these things because of, our research and testing.
Wow. So even as a young child, you were kind of like curious about what happens with our body when we get illnesses and like, is there something we can do to change that? And I think that's a big topic out there, right? Is what is the cause or what can we do to make improve our health, our well-being? So I love that you from that started your own business to really help people recognize they can be empowered. I think instead of going into a doctor and saying, hey, you give me something or you tell me what to do, it's like, no, I can figure out some things with you giving me, that collaboration of what to do. That's really, really powerful. So tell me a little bit more about, so I know you were big into exercise, right? Lifting, weightlifting, all of that. What did you see helped you? Like when you were going through that, having, the stomach issues and the diarrhea and all of that, what was it that helped you to improve your health at that point?
So, at that point, I thought at the hospital I was surrounded by a bunch of idiots because I would ask them questions and they didn't answer my question. They told me I didn't need to know that information. And I thought to myself, who would tell anyone that? Imagine you ask me a question, you don't need to know that. Who am I to tell you what you should know and not know, right?
Yeah.
So I had asked them, they told me they tested me for bacteria and that everything was negative. So I asked them, well, what did you test for? And basically, they didn't even know what they tested me for. But that's why they told me you don't need to know. So I went to the physician that was there and I said, look, can you write me a broad spectrum antimicrobial agent? I feel like I have a parasite and right now you guys aren't doing anything for me. So just write me a script and I'll be on my way. And the physician said, well, I'm afraid about antimicrobial resistance in the future. So I'd rather not write you a script. And I said, I don't care about the future. I'm not surviving today. So your logic is flawed. I may not make it to 10 years from now. So why don't you get me another doctor that I can talk to? And so the second doctor said, I agree with your logic. He wrote me a script and 2 hours later, I was feeling better. So I can't tell you, I don't remember the name of the medication. I don't even know what I had going on inside of me because they simply wouldn't run the tests. So that led to me connecting laboratories around the world. So today I can measure anything ever discovered by humankind. We can measure every gene in the human genome and the human exome, every vitamin, mineral, amino acid, fatty acid. We test for every microorganism ever discovered. We were the first group to find out that certain bacteria in the mouth are linked to Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition. We're the first group to find certain bacteria in the mouth are linked to colon cancer. Now, other groups have shown bacteria in the mouth linked to heart disease. And to this day, what doctor tests organisms in the mouth? Very, very few about that, right? Even though that's shown to be a causative factor for a lot of conditions. So, the early solution was just an antimicrobial agent. Today, we have much better approaches. But again, I remember back then I was, I don't think I was even 20 at that point.
Yeah. Wow. That's really an amazing story. And as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about how cool is it to know that there actually are reasons why something's going wrong with your body. It's not just it's not just a random thing of, oh, I don't feel well, and if I take, a medication, it might cover the symptom, but there might actually be something, like you're saying, a parasite there, or something that's happening that we don't even recognize is going on. That's the cause. I never have thought of that. That makes a lot of sense, though. So what you guys do in your research and the treatment that you do is kind of looking at testing all of, what's going on inside of us with, our bodies, and seeing what the causes are, or, causes of different illnesses and diseases and things.
Yeah. So keep in mind, let's say if someone came here with, a serious illness, doesn't matter which illness. The mistake a lot of people make is they go, how many people have you helped with my condition? Do you know what the answer to that is? 0. Why?
Yeah, because it's all different.
People are the same, right? So we actually have
biology.
Right. So we have scientific evidence that every human being is unique. So what do people do? They don't want to understand their uniqueness. Most people want to make themselves a number. So they ask the wrong questions, and then they wind up pursuing the wrong treatment approaches. So I'll give you a really cool example. Lots of people ask me about food allergy testing. A competent doctor does not start with food allergy testing. The reason for that is our microbiome determines how we react to food. And if our vitamin and minerals are low, our immune system reacts differently. So if you want to solve a problem permanently, what you got to do is find out the micronutrient status of a person. Because let's just say if I tested you and your vitamin A, your zinc, or vitamin D levels were low, your lymphocytes will not respond the same way to food. So if I test you today, and let's say did food allergy testing, and then find out you have some low micronutrients, if I improve the micronutrients and retest your food allergies, they're going to be different. So why would I have you pay twice for the same thing? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. There's going to be stuff you have to pay for multiple times just to make sure it's working, but let's not add to the financial expense of healthcare, right? Let's actually use more logic and science. And so, like you hear a lot of times about intermittent fasting and things like that right now. Most people don't realize that maybe the reason why they feel better from that type of stuff is they're not feeding the bad bacteria in their body. So they're thinking intermittent fasting is a solution, but not understanding the basic biochemical and physiological concepts about how we react to the environment around us. And so they're looking at it basically in the wrong way. So then it's not reproducible in the future. So eventually they're going to hit a dead end, and they're not going to get results because they're confusing their short-term result with the actual mechanism of action.
So something like, I have seasonal allergies that I get, right? That's one of my big things. There's something that maybe is deficient in my system, because like what you believe, and I think I believe it as well, is that the body can heal itself, right? If it's given the right environment.
Yeah. So, it's so conceptually, I would say this, that the body is an amazing resource. But in terms of let's say you had low zinc and you have a bad bacteria, you got threats against your health. But if you don't know you have the low zinc and the bad bacteria, could the body repair damage? Absolutely. But maybe it takes 10 years as opposed to one day. Right. And so now in terms of your barometer of success, how much time are you giving yourself to fix things? Most people would say, if I'm not better in a week, it's not working. So in that type of context, you would say, well, then the body will never heal itself, right? Because it's missing what it needs. Versus if you had the resources the body's looking for, then it should be able to heal itself reasonably quickly. And, to try to maybe give you another example, today, people have arthritis and they get their hip joint or knee joint replaced. And they're not given any advice on nutrition or supplementation that's worth its weight. Most of the information they get is pretty pathetic. So they go through this very traumatic, when you replace a joint, that's the equivalent of third-degree burns. It's like being burned in a fire in a building. No one thinks about that, the stress and the damage to the body.
Yeah.
What the research has shown is by giving people all kinds of vitamins and minerals and essential amino acids and different building blocks for collagen, you could accelerate tissue repair by a factor of 8 times. We've known this since about 2011 or 2012. To this day, in 2019, I've never met a single orthopedic surgeon that recommends anything like this for their people post-joint surgery or joint replacement surgery. So there's just a really big lag in what we know in research versus what's actually being applied in the real world.
Wow. So I love this, that your body, if we give it the vitamins, minerals, those things that it's deficient in. So when you go through this, you kind of look at each individual person and you do some testing on them. Is it the blood testing, kind of that seeing where things are at with the vitamins and minerals and that in their system? Is that kind of where you?
So the short answer is yes, but I want to add some clarification.
Okay.
When we test vitamins and minerals, we test your whole blood. We test your red blood cells or your erythrocytes. We test your leukocytes or white blood cells. We test your lymphocytes, and we test serum plasma. So think of it as we're going to be testing 4 or 5 parts of your body. And the reason is very simple. The fact that one is normal has nothing to do with the other for us, if you will. It's kind of the equivalent. Imagine you have a car, you got 4 wheels on the car, and someone comes along and checks air pressure on one tire. They don't say the rest are fine. If they did, you'd be like, this is ridiculous. But in healthcare, they do that all the time.
Just look at one thing instead of the whole person, because you might be fine in one area. Maybe your blood is okay, but you've got some new deficiencies in another area. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love your story, and I'd like to hear just a kind of tiny little bit about your weightlifting story and what it was that improved your performance and what you did for yourself that transformed things for you.
So when I was younger and living at home and had no money type of thing, I never had enough food to eat. So I would say that I learned later on how important nutrition was, because I was strong, but not as strong as I could be. It's kind of like how much energy could you have if you're not getting enough calories, right? So even about protein and fat and carbohydrate, there's that stuff. So then the second thing would be that as I started, getting more experience, learning more about nutrition, I started realizing if I test myself, like my vitamin levels, my mineral levels, my hormones, I could then figure out what it is that I need. And then from there, instead of guessing, I could take precisely what I need. And then I just started getting way stronger to the point, that I pulled 945 pounds for a triple in a deadlift.
Oh, wow.
I was running with a 767 attached to me, like a draft harness that you might have for horses. I was running with airplanes and, fire engine trucks and that kind of stuff. And I had a lot of fun.
Wow. So you can almost become superhuman, huh?
Well, it'll definitely help people get stronger.
Get stronger, yeah.
And I have that same approach. So being an athlete in 5 sports, I use that same intense mindset with every patient.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone comes here in a wheelchair, say we have stage 4 cancer and they're too weak to walk, I say, welcome to a Causenta. Take a look at this wheelchair because you're about to throw it out. We have a graveyard for wheelchairs and quad canes. None of our patients here need them anymore. And people usually laugh, and then a day later, they don't need it anymore. And they go, how did you know? I'm like, because I got 100,000 people I've worked with. I didn't just make this up one day. Wow. This is like a long history behind it.
Oh, I love that. That's really, really neat. So when you were, your weightlifting, you were recognizing what the body needed to build the muscle, right? So giving your body that protein, the carbs that it needs to build that muscle, and then your performance got better. I know I'm not myself quite a professional athlete to that place, but I know that what I eat and how I take care of my body makes a difference in my energy and all of those kinds of things. And it sounds like just knowing the education will help us perform better, feel better, and take, just have a better quality of life. Getting out of a wheelchair, that's huge, not having to be stuck in.
Well, what I was going to say is a lot of times when people have a diagnosis that's a form of mental imprisonment, right? They get so focused on the label, they think that everything that happens is because of the disease that they were labeled with.
Right.
And they simply forget they're not moving as much as they used to. So lack of use is a bigger factor to a lot of the problems they experience. But they're so caught up in the label that they forget the common sense aspect of things. So here, because we're so movement-based, we know how to use exercise to counter the effects of hypermetabolic rates of cancer, the degenerative joint diseases with arthritis, and all these other different conditions that we can get people really fast results. And that usually gets them excited and they want to try to do the other things. And so example, a lot of times, like people read a book about a new diet, and they're going to go try the diet.
Yeah.
It never occurs to them that that book was written for marketing purposes and has nothing to do with optimal biology. Or if someone has a label, they get a diagnosis, they Google it, and they don't understand the back-end algorithms for search engines. What determines what happens is sales and revenue. It has nothing to do with biology.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all these people Googling stuff and chasing treatments that unfortunately the treatments will never work because there's nothing to do with their unique physiology. It's kind of like the equivalent if I said, hey, go put oil in your car right now for your engine. Like, yeah, engines need oil, but at this moment you may have adequate oil and not need any at all. But what do people do is they read something and go do it. It never occurs to them that maybe at this moment it's not what they need. So one of the things that we do is eliminate a lot of guesswork, and where it expands is to things like this. We know like blueberries and strawberries, spinach are healthy foods. Green tea is healthy. But that's a general statement. When I test you, I may find that there's an immune reaction to those foods, or I may find that your genetics is such that green tea may trigger an autoimmune condition. So for you specifically, I would say avoid tea, period, because it could be trigger to lupus or some other disease down the road. Most people never think about things with that precise detail. They just go, oh, green tea is good, I'll just drink some. And then later on, when they have an issue, they're baffled why are they, going downhill, because they're supposedly doing the right things.
Yeah, so it's more personalized, individualized to each individual. Like you say, everybody has different biology. What might, allergies, what might bother me may not bother someone else. I think that's really important to look at that, our differences, and that what might work for one person is not going to work for the other. Also, our culture, we kind of like to get on bandwagons, right? The latest diet, the latest fad, instead of being like, what, just because that person went gluten-free doesn't mean that gluten-free is my thing, right? So it's kind of looking at what's going to be best for each individual person. So we're going to take a little break, but when we get back, I would love for you to share with us a little bit more of maybe some specific patients that you've worked with, some of the transformation. I know you talked about the guy who in the wheelchair, but I would love to hear what you did and how their health transformed.
Have you ever had one of those days when you feel like you can't keep doing it all? When you feel like the demands of work, family, and life are just too much? Are you trying to make others happy, but you are miserable? Do you feel like your brain is constantly in a fog? Do you worry all the time and can't shut your brain off? Do you wish you had more time for yourself? Do you want to find more stillness and quiet your mind? Many women feel overwhelmed and stressed with the demands of family, work, and other responsibilities. It can literally push them over the edge. What if you could have a weekend away to dedicate to you, to your well-being and self-care, to eat healthy food, practice invigorating yoga, get calming massages, and spend time in quiet meditation with nature? Join Flourish Wellness for our Mindfulness in the Mountains wellness retreat in the beautiful mountains of Eden, Utah. Learn to quiet the mind and to listen to your body and fill your soul with self-love and acceptance. Register now. Space is limited. To check out the cabin and accommodations and to register, go to flourishwellnessconsulting.com under live events or email Camille at flourishwellnessconsulting.com. This fall, make yourself a priority and learn to make peace with your body and like who you are for good.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wellness Wisdom. This is such a great conversation. I'm so excited to talk about causenta. Really, that there is an underlying cause to any health issue that we have, anything that's keeping us from a good quality of life. And I'm talking to Dr. Tom Incledon. Tom, before the break, I asked you if you would kind of share with us a couple of situations of patients that you've seen their health really transform through what you guys do, with really looking at what the root cause is of the problem. Who comes to mind when we talk about that?
Well, so I love people, period. So I don't care what they look like, where they're from. I mean, when people come here, you see everyone laughing and having a good time. There's no doctor here who wears a white lab coat, as an example. And so most people go, you guys don't look like doctors. You all look healthy.
Yeah.
And you're all kind of cool and fun to hang out with.
That's awesome.
Like, if you ever saw the movie Patch Adams with Robin Williams, who's people are paying him chickens and things like that, I always wanted to create an environment that would embrace everyone, celebrate what makes them unique and their differences, and help them to kind of go beyond wherever they were trapped, as far as their health and stuff like that. So I've had one particular story that comes to mind is I had a young lady, family contacted me, and they didn't wind up coming here until about a year later. At that point, they had spent, maybe millions of dollars on treating the daughter's cancer. She had a terminal lymphoma. So it's basically a cancer of lymphocytes or within the immune system. And what tends to happen is there could be tumors that form in lymph nodes around the body. And so after about a year of all the stuff they've done not working, they had reached back out, and I said, why didn't you guys just come in? And they're like, we never heard of you. And so we want to go to the places we heard of. And I said, okay, great. How many scientists with 5 degrees and world records in 5 sports and deadlift trucks or with airplanes do you know? And they're like, nobody.
Yeah.
That's why you don't hear of me, because guys like me are not advertising. Guys like me are doing things that matter, which is research. And we're kind of like, we're like in closets with no windows, right? So we're not like all over the place for us people to see us. So they wind up coming in. The day they were coming here, the daughter, who was a patient, she lost the ability to breathe because the tumor was so big, it was choking off the airway in her neck. So I had to direct the family to an ER, to a hospital, because this is an emergency medicine. This isn't cancer treatment per se. And so I was able to get the oncologist here on the phone with the hospital. We were able to get the girl intubated and able to do a little bit of radiation and some chemo to shrink the tumor. And we actually got more results in one day without ever seeing this person physically than she did in the year before, ever hearing about us or coming in. And then when she came here, she was in a wheelchair. So I told the family, all right, she'll be walking in an hour. And they're like, this guy's a quack. There's no way our daughter could walk. She hasn't walked in 4 months. And so an hour later, she's walking and they're all crying, saying it's a miracle. Thank God. How did you know? And I'm like, it's just science. What most people don't understand is how the brain communicates with the rest of the body, and we're experts in that. We measure things, we test things, and then we make sure it's working the way we think. And, basically 2 months later, she had gained 40 pounds of lean body mass and has no evidence of disease to this day. So, it was a really cool story. She's getting ready to be married now, and, she's got a young, good-looking boyfriend, and so they're going to live happily ever after, that kind of thing. And I also had a woman that was 86 that had a very rare blood cancer. And when she first came here, she could not make it from the front door to the lobby desk, which is, let's say, 10 feet away. Her son and her daughter had to literally help her walk. And so 3 weeks later, she has no signs of this blood cancer anymore. And she goes to her daughter, why are you following me into the bathroom? And the daughter goes, Ma, you couldn't walk. I had to help you to get to the bathroom. And she's like, I don't need help anymore. I'm fine. And so we basically treated the cancer, got her strength up. We got her strength up. We have her lifting weights and working out. And I do some really cool stuff with magnetic fields, electricity, and laser systems from companies developed all over the world. Well, the mom said, hey, she said to one of the doctors here, I got these varicose veins. would you guys see if you could do anything for them? So now the docs come to me and they go, what do you want to do for this? I'm like, I don't treat varicose veins. I don't know anything about it, but give me a day to look into some stuff. So we winded up developing a protocol. About a week later, the doctors come back and go, what do you think? And I'm looking at these photos. It looks like two different women's legs. And I go, why are you showing me these pictures? I go, it's the same person. I'm like, get the heck out of here. So we actually treated her varicose veins and her cancer and her muscle strength and all this other stuff. So when other people were coming here, a woman would say, hey, look at my legs. So she was more proud that her legs look good than she was about fighting this terrible disease. And so we always laugh at that I don't care. I don't care what the woman gets. She still wants to look good.
Yep, exactly. So tell me a little bit, like, what do you do to treat the cancer? Like, where do you start with that?
So first, it starts with, we got to look at the case, right? So if I don't know about the person, and I kind of got to get a better understanding of their behavior and their mindset. Most people say something like, I'll do whatever it takes to beat this. What they don't realize is they're in a fight for life and death, right? They're fighting to live. So as soon as it gets difficult, if they don't have a clearly defined purpose, how do they make sure to get to this dark tunnel to the light at the other end? And surprisingly, a lot of people don't really know why they should be alive. And what I've seen over and over again is the reason why so many people die from cancer is very poor, behavior patterns and very poorly defined purpose. So an example would be, I ask a guy, do you want to live? And he goes, well, I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to live. I'm like, that's avoiding the answer. It's simply yes. That's the only acceptable answer. This isn't like a long drawn out conversation. Is yes, I want to live. And as simple as it might be, a lot of people can't say that. So what that tells me then is there's a lot of doubt inside of them, and there might be some other psychosocial issues going on. So right now, I'm investing heavily into bringing in more psychological, psychiatric experts, because one of the biggest issues I see people have is behavioral. So an example like this, everyone knows you can't feel cancer growing. But what do most people do? They go, I feel fine, I'll wait. So they're going to wait till they're near dead, and then they go, let's do something about it. So they're almost ensuring they're going to die. Instead of saying, hey, I got a little bit of cancer in my body, let me do something now because it's easier and less expensive, it's less time to fix it. They wait until the cancer is growing because they go by how they feel. So it's kind of like a catch-22, like it's a flawed logic. So when they finally do get here and get a chance to work with them, I see what things they've tried. I'm not going to repeat stuff that doesn't work. Almost everybody has chased treatment, so they're doing things that were never going to work. For most people, we'll create, if they have malnutrition, we have to address that first before we treat the cancer. People will say, well, the chemo killed my loved one. What they don't realize is their loved one is so frail, anything would have killed them, not just chemo. They couldn't handle even basic stuff. So we have to get rid of, let's say, some weak links, if you will. And then we typically put people on what we call a hyperoxidative protocol. The flaw with chemotherapy and radiation is it targets the nucleus or the DNA of cancer cells. That's also where the repair mechanisms are from the damage. So imagine like you poke a hole in a balloon and it self-repairs, and you keep stabbing and it keeps repairing itself faster and faster. You're never going to win because in the end, it's going to be repairing itself faster than you could damage it. So we've developed as a way to target the cytoplasm and poke holes in parts of the cell. It has no repair mechanisms. So it gives us a very unique advantage for fighting cancer. And then we do some repeat testing. We see, where's the cell grow? Is it mutating in a different direction? And then we add other strategies. So like in the end, let's say if I have 10 people with lung cancer, that's 10 different cancers. It's got the same label, like you might say non-small cell lung cancer, but because the genetics and the microbiome and the environment for each person is different, there are not the same cancers. We know today, for example, that even within one person's body, if they have multiple tumors, the microenvironments for those tumors are different. So you can't possibly have a single tool cure all cancer. That's illogical because it's not understanding how cancer works or how it changes and mutates. There's some recent technology from 2017 where they do single cell cancer analysis. So within a tumor, you isolate all the different cancer cells, and they're all showing up different. They have different mutations. So even within a single node, you may need multiple strategies to kill all the cancer cells in that node. This is stuff that when people come in and go, how come no one of my oncologists ever told me this before? I'm like, well, generally speaking, medicine is not about optimal biology. Healthcare is about fear of liability and following a standard of care. So the problem with this is, let's say that your treatment involves something that's not approved by the FDA. Well, you will never get it, right? Because it hasn't been approved. So what do people do that need help? So what we do is we figure out a way to take FDA-approved therapies and make them more effective. So for example, let's say that you have a tumor. How do you feed your healthy cells and starve the tumor? Every time you eat, how do you determine where it's going? We figured that out. To this day, not a single cancer center in the world even thinks about that. So what happens is people go on strange diets and they think it's going to magically, fight their cancer. And they never consider the possibility that the cancer has gluconeogenic enzyme capabilities and to convert any carbon skeleton into a different energy source. So an example would be you go on a ketogenic diet and you take the amino acids from the protein in your food supply, you deaminate them by cutting off the nitrogen and the hydrogen, and now you have a carbon skeleton that you convert into sugar, glucose. Cancer cells can do that easily without even trying. And people think, well, just, so my point is that there's a lot of detail that goes into planning and strategizing, and we don't compete for second place. We compete for gold medals here. And that's the difference between having winners that are overseeing your care and your therapy versus someone that's accepting of, oh, it's okay if you can't walk. It's okay if you're weak. That's a loser mindset. That's not what we embrace here. We embrace a win at all costs because we're fighting deadly diseases that have no mercy. So you can't say, well, let me try my best. That doesn't work against a disease that doesn't take a holiday or a vacation.
Wow, that's really powerful. And how detailed do you have to be to strategize for each individual person what's going to work best for them? I'm a mental health therapist as well as a wellness coach. So you're really speaking to me when it comes to like our mindset. I worked for about 8 years working with people with chronic illness and disease and hospice and home care. So seeing that when you're given that cancer diagnosis, how people go inward, stop exercising, stop taking care of, eating differently. There's maybe a depression going on. That really resonates to me, that mindset of what we believe when we're given a label. I mean, there's so many different things, of course, that go into what can create cancer in each of us, right? Environmental or whatever. But I think that mindset thing is so huge in helping people see that there is some hope, that there's something that it's empowering, there's something they can do. And so I love this idea that you just take each individual person and you look at, okay, maybe something needs to shift with their nutrition, or let's look at what's going on with their physical, how are they exercising and things like that. Because you're actually, instead of taking their health down, it's actually promoting the health, right? The things that we know are helping us have our best health, like having all the vitamins and minerals we need, and exercise and weightlifting. And you don't think of your 85-year-old grandma weightlifting, right? But those kinds of things that actually build the body, right? And help it to fight more. I love that. That's powerful.
If you had, let's say you had a mother or father that was dealing with cancer and they were going for treatment, and let's say you're watching them, right? You don't know all the biochemical changes in their body, but you just go by what you see. And a doctor tells you, hey, the cancer is shrinking. So you feel good about that. But at the same time, you watch, and now their feet hurt when they walk, and now they can't stand up, and now there's blood in their urine, or they have burning in their fingers, right? So you're conflicted, right? Because you're like, supposedly we're winning the war against cancer, but on the other hand, the quality of life has gone downhill dramatically. And so I would argue that that's not a good place to be in, because maybe that your loved one doesn't die of cancer, they die of a different problem now. And so instead, what we want to try to do is make sure we're fixing everything. So the joke we have, so we have a lot of former patients that come by and they're like, I came to see you guys, for my breast cancer, my colon cancer, whatever. And you fixed my knees and you fixed my lower back. And I love playing golf now. So, because, I don't want people stuck. I want people free. I want people, the gold standards are, like how children never ask to warm up. They just run around crazy. You got a 5-year-old, they don't stretch before they run. They just do whatever they want. That's the gold standard for, you should be able to move freely without, having to do these things like to stretch and warm up and all that. But most people don't think of health from that perspective. They think of it like, I got to do all these things. And if I could stand up, that's good enough. So we don't relax our standards. We keep our standards where they are, and we figure out how to help people to reach those standards.
It's looking at what's the optimal, right? Optimal well-being. Like you say, each of us is given a different, maybe I'm never going to be, a sprinter or something. And maybe someone else kind of has a genetic where they're faster but also it's what do you do with what you've been given, right? We've all been given this genetic, whatever is in our system, but then what do we do with that once we're given it, right? How do we nourish it and take care of it? I love that. And help it be optimal for us to do whatever it is we want to do. I think for a lot of people, they think, well, once you hit a certain age, you just can't do stuff anymore, right? You're 50 or 60 and it's kind of a culture that we have of, then we're just going downhill. We just expect it instead of like, no, it's just that I'm going to do work to keep it up, right? I'm going to do some things. I'm going to make some changes. I love that. I think that's really, really powerful. To help people see that they can be empowered to do something about their health, and also to be able to do what they love, whether that's golfing or playing with their grandkids or, biking, hiking, whatever it is that they love, that can still be a part of their life. That's huge.
Oh yeah. Plus a lot of stuff we hear about aging, it's totally wrong. So when they look at studies of men or women over time, they'll say things like, hormones decline. What those studies never looked at is what else went downhill. Most of the problems with aging is simply unaddressed health issues, more damage over time. So imagine you have like a car, it's brand new, and you scratch up the surface. You got all these scratches in the paint. If you don't do anything about it, eventually those scratches lead to more rust and there's holes in the car. That's the same thing that happens in us. When we fix people, we have 90-year-old men with testosterone levels over 1,000, chasing their wives around the bedroom, and the wives calling me and yelling at me, what did you do to my husband? He won't leave me alone. So we know that we can improve things in people at any age. The oldest person I've worked with myself is 103.
Oh, wow.
That guy was in a wheelchair on about 20 different meds. When I was done with him, 0 medications, and he's throwing a football to his great-grandchild.
I love that.
Dude, so we know that we can do things, and especially now, we have 80-year-old men deadlifting 500 pounds. So when a guy that's in his 30s or 40s goes, I can't swing a golf club, I'm like, dude, you're just doing the wrong thing. That's all that means. You just got to come in and let us figure out, why can't you move without pain? And then we'll fix the rest.
That's powerful. And those words of I can't kind of tell you where they're at, right, mentally with what they want to do. I was thinking as you were talking about that, it's really like at any age, it's being really vigilant, right, and disciplined in noticing different things that are going on and doing something about it when it's going on, not 5 years later, which is hard for any of us because we usually ignore things until they become like right in front of our face, a problem, right? And so helping people see that little things can shift and they can do something about it.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
We all get trapped in our own days and time challenges.
Get busy and
like I've a lot of my mentors were really brilliant people. And the trap that a lot of my mentors fell into is they were so focused on helping everyone else with their health issues, they didn't do anything for themselves. And part of that is like, the people I surround myself with in healthcare, we love what we do. we get, it's like a re-energizing, reciprocal scenario.
Yeah.
So we love coming to work. We love helping the people we meet, and we love the different intellectual challenges and the biochemical obstacles or the orthopedic issues we face. But now you're so gung-ho to help everyone else, you forget, well, what about my health? What do I got to do for me?
Yeah.
So I create an environment where every room in the building you can exercise in. So every room has the ability for activity, productivity, and therapy. So like if you said, my hip's killing me, I have a way of, you could move down the hall into a room where you could rehab your hip or work on your hip while you're still working. And we're working on right now is I have brand new technologies for water. We actually have a water that we've been developing and working with some groups on that actually appears to treat different diseases. So it's premature to say, how powerful it is or what it could do at this point. But a lot of the early research that we're using the water to treat brain cancer and neurological conditions of the brain, because of the barrier of the blood-brain barrier, like a lot of drugs we take can't cross the blood-brain barrier. So how are you going to treat, let's say, cancer when the weapon you have won't get there? So there's this really interesting physics behind the structure of water and some of the other substances that we're using. And I make sure that everyone that works here has access to these resources. So the people here work out, the people here eat right, they use all the therapies that we have because they could feel a difference in their own bodies.
I love that. Can I come work for you?
Absolutely.
I love that. So I part of my passion is I do self-care specialist, and I noticed so many of the nurses, doctors, and social workers that I worked with were burning out, and they were there helping others, but their own health they were not taking care of their own health, right? Not exercising or eating well, and I think that tends to be something that we do when we're in this profession of wanting to make a difference for others. But, the whole thing is put your oxygen on so you can help others, right? Kind of a thing. So I love that you have that set up in your, in your clinic that you can come in and your employees can experience that, and know that they can, if there's something going on with their health that day, you can take care of it while you're at work.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. You mentioned your background with hospice and stuff. And, when I first came to Arizona, I had this, let's just say, delusion that I was going to help all these people on hospice actually beat their disease and live.
Yeah.
And so I approached all these hospice centers and I said, hey, look, we got these amazing success rates with stage 4 cancers, and we want to try to see if we could help people in hospice. 100% of the centers said no. And what I later found is that they're paid when people pass away. They're not paid if they live. And I thought, this is backwards. I don't know if this is like this in every state, but at least here in Arizona, I was like, that makes no sense. Do people know that once they're going in that direction, it's a one-way journey? I think a lot of people expect they're going to get some help or some care and maybe have a chance to turn this around and beat it. And what I actually found is no one's going to even try to help them beat the disease once they're put on hospice. So it was a real let's say, eye-opener, a shock for me that I was educated that there's always something that can be done to help someone. Even if all the experts of the world agree there's no treatment to help you, we can still be kind. We can still show love and compassion. I could still get you like a cold washcloth to put on your forehead, or, hey, I know, things don't look so good. How about I get you a bowl of ice cream or something you really enjoy eating? So at least you have some sort of, sense of satisfaction, or you feel cared. Like, I guess one of my fears for people is I've had a $5 billion budget, so I can literally do pretty much anything you want to help a human being. But there was a lot of funding from drug companies with that project. And what I saw is a lot of people that maybe lived a little longer, but their quality of life was pathetic. They were doped up on drugs. They were drooling on themselves. And I was watching husbands or wives stare at their counterpart, husband or wife, and not recognize them. And what I saw is that's a very lonely way to go. Like, ideally, you want to be surrounded by love. You want to be surrounded by people that, say, hey, I care, I'm here for you type of thing, as opposed to not even knowing, your kids, recognizing them when they're at your bedside and stuff like that.
Yeah. This is a whole nother conversation that we could have, but I think it's so important for every individual to know that there is something they can do, even if the disease has taken them. I mean, I think that's what hospice does really well, is try to promote quality of life. If you want someone to come sing to you or put music or, give you food, whatever it is that can work for you. I just think it's really empowering to know that you can try different things, right? That there's never, even if, the doctors say we've tried all the things that we know, that doesn't mean you can't individually on your own try some other things to even help you be more comfortable or more have a better quality of life. I think that's huge. So this has been an awesome conversation. I'm going to take another little quick break. But when we get back, I like to do like a little words of wisdom, something people can take home, just to try these things out, to think about, how can I have more optimal health? What can I do to make my health just a little bit more improved and have a better quality of life?
Do you feel stressed, overweight, and unhappy? Are you tired of setting goals that you don't accomplish? Do you want more energy, motivation, and focus to create your dreams? Many people struggle to keep up the commitment, motivation, and confidence to be successful, to reach their goals and aspirations. They often let other things get in the way of their personal health and happiness. It doesn't have to be this way. You can change. Join us for a 6-week online health transformation workshop. Learn about the mind-body connection, overcome obstacles to health, create daily health rituals, get support from others like you, and change your life for good. Register now at flourishwellnessconsulting.com under online group workshops, or email Camille at flourishwellnessconsulting.com. Our gift to you as a podcast listener is $50 off the transformation workshop. Use the promo code podcast50 when you register. This new year, make peace with your body and like who you are for.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wellness Wisdom. We're having a great conversation about happiness, quality of life, end of life. We're just having a great conversation about so many things. I have Dr. Tom Incledon with me. He's down in Arizona, and he has his own practice where he helps people really be able to look at what the root cause of any disease or illness that they're dealing with, and helps them improve their personal performance through a lot of different things, but it's really individualized to the person. Tom, I would love for you to share with us just a couple of things that I know it's not a one size fits all, right? Everybody's different, and we can't take everyone that's listening to this podcast and say, hey, but maybe something that is just a couple of tips that you feel like would help people kind of be a little more in tune with what's going on and improve their health just maybe by a little bit.
Yeah. So one thing I would say is don't wait, take action right away.
Okay.
If your knee starts bothering you, don't wait till you can't walk, go see someone right away. I would look at non-surgical interventions before surgical interventions. I can't tell you how many people were told I've been told by over 100 doctors I had to replace my hips and knees 20 years ago. I move better than ever, and I never had those surgeries. So I know firsthand about all the things that can be done. And so, thank you. So the other thing I would say is anyone that's dealing with a terminal or life-threatening type of condition, when you go and you meet with a doctor, don't ask questions like treatment success rates, because that makes you a number and not an individual human being. Instead, what you want to ask is stuff that matters. And the stuff that matters is question one is, what will you do for me and what I'm dealing with? Like, what's going on in my body? Not the label. That's irrelevant data that doesn't matter, because we don't need to know a diagnosis to help someone. That's an old school way of thinking. The second question, and this could be life-saving, is what will you do when that doesn't work? Because everyone looks at it like, I'm going to do this treatment and magic will happen and the world will be whole again. The reality is that some of our best outcomes, we failed 5 times in a row. Think of it, let's say like for a business, let's say you try a marketing strategy and 0 people call you. Do you shut your business down and move on? You try a different strategy. And if you have data and you have metrics for analysis purposes, you keep tweaking and adjusting things. So we're working with someone that has, let's say, cancer or some autoimmune condition or some infection. We do something. We then monitor, we test. Did it work? It didn't work. Okay, we adjust something because we could see the responses in their body. So I've had lots of people with rare blood issues, different cancers and different autoimmune conditions, and maybe 5 to 7 times things didn't work. And then we got enough data to figure out what to do so it did work, and now they're disease-free. So failure is not necessarily bad. Failure could be an opportunity to learn on what doesn't work and to navigate the ship back on direction. But a lot of times people are afraid of failure because they don't understand the value in that data. And so they bounce around chasing treatments, and then they never get the solution they're looking for. And in terms of like what you could do right now, move. So too many people are sitting on their butts. We now know that sitting is a risk for many diseases. There's just a recent paper for nurses. The nurses that watched the most amount of TV had the highest rate of colon cancer because they were sitting more. And so hence why, I don't know if you could tell from the view, is I have a laser system behind me. I have, there's a bench behind me, so I could stretch, I could do mobility work, and I could do light therapy work on me while I'm talking to someone.
I love that.
So we practice what we preach here.
Oh, that's awesome. So just taking action, trying things that are not surgery, talking to your doctor, having these good questions to talk to them about, what they're going to do, recognizing that this is a science, right? We're trying different things, seeing what the results are, and then maybe tweaking it and looking at something else. And I believe this so strongly is moving your body. It changes your mental health. It changes your physical well-being. That's just huge. So thank you so much for sharing with us today all of the knowledge that you have, expertise that you have in helping people live their best life and have a good quality of life. Everybody, I hope as you listen to this that you can see something that might help you just take things up a little bit for you to have a better quality of life, to be happier. Because when we have our health, that really brings us a lot of joy to be able to do the things we want to do with family and friends and be outdoors or whatever it is you're into. Thank you so much for being with us today. If people want to get to know what you're doing or go meet you down in Scottsdale, what's the best way for them to reach you?
They could just go to causenta.com. That's causenta.com. They can just fill out a form. And then we can schedule a free call and then just say, look, tell me a problem. And I would say, here's how we would approach it. Does it sound good? Then let's move forward. If it doesn't sound good, you don't have to waste any money. You don't have to spend any money, just get a few quick answers. And I encourage, everyone to at least come by and tour the facility. Most people, once they come here one time, they work with us for the rest of their life. I have families, I've worked with them for 4 generations because we have so much technology. We're constantly growing and evolving. Like if you came in here this week and you come back 2 weeks, you're going to see all new stuff that you've never seen before.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it gives you that hope that you can try different things, you can feel better, and that you can see results really quite quickly. That's pretty amazing. So thank you so much for sharing with us. And everybody, as you listen to this, I hope that you can recognize to really connect with your body, make peace with your body, and like who you are. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.